Think of a Saint Bernard, and you probably picture a massive beast plowing through blinding snow to save a stranded traveler. The story starts here, high in the Swiss Alps, at the Great Saint Bernard Hospice. Surrounded by these peaks, monks began breeding dogs for a highly specific job. They needed an animal built to endure freezing temperatures, possess immense stamina, and navigate deep powder to locate lost travelers. And despite the classic imagery, these mountain rescuers never actually carried those tiny wooden barrels of brandy around their necks. That detail was made up entirely by a Victorian-era painter who thought it added a nice touch to a portrait. Monks engineered a biological machine capable of surviving the extreme demands of high-altitude winters. Today, their job description looks very different. They spend far less time pulling travelers from avalanches, and instead spend much more time pulling children on sleds in the backyard. But they still carry the physical traits of their ancestors. An adult male routinely tips the scales between 55 and over 90 kilograms. That is the weight of a grown human, packed into a furry frame, navigating narrow hallways, through standard doorways, and delicate coffee tables. So what exactly happens when you take a 90-kilogram working dog, bred for the Alps, and put it inside a modern living room? Internally, the Saint Bernard operates at a surprisingly low frequency. The same steady, unflappable nature required to carefully dig out avalanche victims translates into a remarkably calm indoor presence. They are famously tolerant, whether dealing with curious toddlers pulling at their ears or greeting strangers at the front door. Their default setting is patient and gentle. You might assume a dog this massive needs miles of running to burn off energy. The actual data shows the exact opposite. A daily walk and some light playtime perfectly satisfy their moderate energy needs. Forcing them into intense, sustained workouts is unnecessary and physically demanding on their bodies. In fact, over-exercising a young Saint Bernard while its massive skeletal system is still developing can cause severe, permanent damage to its joints. Their low-energy, highly affectionate disposition actually makes them incredible housemates. They want to be with their family, relaxed indoors, assuming your home has the square footage to house them. Managing their hardware is the real friction. When a 90-kilogram dog stands on its hind legs, it looks an adult in the eye. If an untrained Saint Bernard pulls in the opposite direction, human muscle won't stop it. This makes early, consistent obedience training mandatory while the dog is still small enough to manage. If you miss that window, you are entirely at the mercy of a giant animal that outweighs you, outpulls you, and dictates where you go. Their sheer bulk and wide turning radius also mean tight apartments or small living spaces are physically impractical. They simply need room to maneuver without breaking things. You cannot muscle a fully grown Saint Bernard into submission. Coexisting safely requires putting in the psychological work long before they reach their final weight. Even if you master their behavior, you still have to maintain their exterior. That thick Alpine coat dictates regular, heavy brushing and leaves a high volume of shedding across your floors. But shedding is the minor issue. The most significant daily reality of owning a Saint Bernard is the extreme, heavy drooling. They drool when they drink, when they are hungry, and when they are warm. Owners quickly learn to keep dedicated drool rags in every room to constantly wipe down walls, furniture, and the dog itself. Managing this constant output requires a high baseline of daily physical effort and patience. If you demand a spotless, pristine home, this is not the animal for you. The trade-off for their deep affection is accepting a permanent, messy reality in your living space. This chart compares standard canine lifespan to the Saint Bernard. That massive scale carries a biological toll, limiting life expectancy to 8 to 10 years. Owners must remain vigilant against specific vulnerabilities, deteriorating joints, inherited heart conditions, and a deadly stomach condition known as bloat. Catching and mitigating these risks early requires high-quality, specialized diets and frequent proactive veterinary care, both of which scale up in cost with the sheer size of the dog. Because of these specialized dietary needs and the high cost of medical maintenance, the breed carries a 4 out of 5 on the ownership difficulty scale. These are significant logistical and financial hurdles. If you have the space, the budget for their care, and a tolerance for the mess, you are rewarded with something remarkable. You get one of the most impressively loyal, gentle companions on Earth, right in your living room.